Coming up on Network Africa. A South African court orders former President Jacob Zuma back to prison, calling his medical parole unlawful. Rwanda, Kenya confirm cases of the Omicron variant as the World Health Organization say the variant is spreading at an unprecedented rate. Plus, French troops leave Mali's Timbuktu 9 years after recapturing it from Islamist insurgents. Hello and welcome to the program. I'm Layo Adegoke. We begin in South Africa, where a court has ruled that the country's former president, Jacob Zuma, should be returned to prison, saying his medical parole was unlawful. The Pretoria court ruled that the time he has spent out of prison should not be counted in his 15-month sentence. Mr. Zuma was released on the 5th of September for an undisclosed medical condition. He had been jailed for failing to attend an inquiry into corruption during his presidency. The 79-year-old handed himself to the police in July after a public standoff, but his jailing, unprecedented for an ex-president, sparked violent protests and looting that saw over 300 people, mostly in Zuma's stronghold of KwaZulu-Natal province, dying in protests. Well, reactions have been trailing the court's order demanding former President Zuma to return to jail after setting aside the decision to release him on medical parole. South African citizens seem to agree with the court ruling against Zuma, with one of them saying the former president is not above the law. South African lawyer Ulrich Zhu says Zuma had 13 months of his sentence left to serve and would now have to hand himself over to the authorities to continue serving his jail term, most likely by Monday or at some point next week.
That he needs to submit himself to the Department of Correctional Services to continue serving his period of imprisonment. Now, he would most likely receive a letter from the Department of Correctional Services which states that he would have a reasonable time within which to hand himself over again. One could expect possibly that he would have to do so by close of business on Monday or during the course of next week.
He can go back to prison except if he finish with the doctor. So if he finish with the doctor say he's fine. So he must go back to jail because it's not above the law.
If what he did was wrong, yes, he must go back. But if it's not, he mustn't go back.
Yeah, he must go back and say his story. If he's guilty, he must be arrested. If he's not, the law must take its hands.
If you go back to prison, I don't think you'd see any problem because there's no one who's about the law. So he must go.
Let's get more on this from our South Africa Bureau Chief, Betty Dibia, who joins us now. Hello, Betty. Have we heard anything from Mr. Zuma's camp concerning this court order?
Yes, a short while ago, we heard from the spokesperson of the Jacob Zuma Foundation, Mr. Mzwanele Mai, who said that the former president or his lawyers have filed leave to appeal that judgment on the grounds that the judgment is clearly wrong. That is their own stance. And they went on to talk about the issue of privacy regarding his medical records and all that, which is what some of those who were standing against the decision by then Correctional Services Commission, Arthur Fraser, to overturn the Medical Paroles Board recommendation that he's fine enough to stay on. So they filed that leave to appeal, and if that goes according to plan, it may be till we get to the Free State, that's where the Supreme Court of Appeal is, to hear if, well, the process is that court is going to grant, is expected to grant him leave to appeal or not. And then if that is done, he will now proceed to the Supreme Court of Appeal for the case to be heard. Now he's attacking the judgment, all of the 4 pages, where Judge Elias Matujani said that Mr. Fraser acted unlawfully and irrationally in granting him that leave, overturning the recommendations of the Medical Parole Board to grant him a medical parole. But that's where it stands now. He's filed leave application for leave to appeal that judgment.
So essentially, we might be looking at a series of appeals in court from the Zuma camp. But he's been released since early September. That's about 3 months ago on medical parole. But now this Pretoria court is saying this parole is unlawful. What exactly does this mean?
What it means, the judgment is quite clear. It's quite lengthy, but it's clear. It's saying that it is unlawful, it is irrational, and that he should go back to jail to serve the rest of his term, and that the time outside jail shouldn't count. So he's expected to return. Probably, we've heard reactions from the correctional services who say they're studying the judgment and the orders given by the court today and will make further statements. But so if he is not appealing, I'm not quite sure. I think the lawyers will be best placed to answer this. The bridge between when he's appealing, is he expected to go back to jail while the appeal is going on or not? But we're hoping to hear from the correctional services definitely on the next steps. Are they going to give him a letter and take him back again in? And also, remember what happened in July after he was taken in, the unrest that happened. Now the South Africa Human Rights Commission is calling for calm already, so that nothing goes wrong again, because the loss suffered is quite a lot. A lot of people are yet to recover from that. But we're hoping to hear the next steps. Maybe the judge will hear that application or leave to appeal, and from there we'll be able to speak which direction it's going to go.
All right, then. South Africa Bureau Chief Betty Dibia, thank you.
Thank you so much.
South Africa has welcomed news of his removal from the United Kingdom's travel ban imposed in late November, which also included other Southern African countries. Well, the ban came after South Africa had discovered the new COVID-19 variant Omicron, which has now been detected widely across the world. Chief Executive of Southern Africa Tourism Services Association, SATSA, David Frost, says the lifting of the ban is welcome, though the tourism sector has suffered immense losses and it will take time for the sector to recover.
The fact of the matter is we've certainly lost the Christmas period, and that's massively devastating. In the first 2 days after the announcement was made, we had cancellations to the value of 940 million rand wiped out. So some people have been able to postpone their holidays, and we're looking forward to 2022. We'll start recouping some of the losses, but it's not just it's not something that switches on and off with a switch. I mean, the tragedy is they switch it off very quickly. This is a decision that the UK took, and that is an immediate effect.
Rwanda has confirmed 6 cases of the Omicron variant. According to a statement from the Health Ministry, it says the cases were detected in samples collected from travelers and their contacts. It also emphasizes the need for all people aged 12 and above to get fully vaccinated, and those aged 18 and above to consider getting a booster shot. Rwanda has fully vaccinated about 40% of its population and recently started issuing booster shots. Meanwhile, Kenya has also recorded cases of the new Omicron variant among travelers. Health Minister Mutahi Kagwe, however, did not disclose the number of cases detected so far. His announcement comes hours after he had said there were no new variant cases in the country, despite the rise in coronavirus cases. Well, the World Health Organization is warning that the new coronavirus variant, Omicron, is spreading across the globe at an unprecedented rate. Cases of the heavily mutated variant have been confirmed now in 77 countries. But at a press conference, WHO Chief Tedros Ghebreyesus said it's probably in many others that had yet to detect it. Dr. Tedros says he's now concerned that enough is not being done to tackle the variant.
The emergence of Omicron has prompted some countries to roll out booster programs for their entire adult populations, even while we lack evidence for the effectiveness of boosters against this variant. WHO is concerned that such programs will repeat the vaccine hoarding we saw this year and exacerbate inequity. It's clear that as we move forward, boosters could play an important role, especially for those at highest risk of severe disease and death. 77 countries have now reported cases of Omicron, and the reality is that Omicron is probably in most countries, even if it hasn't been detected yet. Omicron is spreading at a rate we have not seen with any previous variant. We're concerned that people are dismissing Omicron as mild. Surely, we have learned by now that we underestimate this virus at our peril. Even if Omicron does cause less severe disease, the sheer number of cases could once again overwhelm unprepared health systems. I need to be very clear. Vaccines alone will not get any country out of this crisis.
Speakers and experts.
Africa is officially in the midst of a fourth wave of the coronavirus pandemic, mostly driven by the Omicron variant. Now, that's according to the World Health Organization. WHO's Regional Director for Africa, Matshidiso Moeti, says the continent recorded the fastest weekly surge in new cases since May 2020. Africa has recorded more than 196,000 new cases for the week ending on the 12th of December, up from around 107,000 in the previous week, bringing the total cumulative number of COVID-19 cases to 8.9 million.
Africa is now officially in the fourth wave of the pandemic, which is partly due to the Omicron variant. There's been an 83% surge in new cases on the continent this week compared to the previous week. This is the fastest surge recorded since May last year.
Still ahead on the program. A South Sudanese painter is using her skill and art to promote women. I'll give you more details after the break. Please stay with us. Welcome back to the program. French military forces have left Timbuktu 9 years after they helped Malian troops recapture the city from Islamist insurgents. The withdrawal has a high symbolic value, as it was here that former French President François Hollande formalized the start of French military intervention in 2013. On Tuesday, a French general handed over a symbolic wooden key to a Malian officer before his troops pulled out of their base. France is gradually reducing its counterinsurgency operation in northern Mali, despite a continuing threat from jihadists. Sudan's armed forces have deployed more troops along the disputed border with Ethiopia, announcing that they have complete control of the region amid tensions with Addis Ababa. The army sent a message of reassurance to the citizens, telling them to, quote, sleep soundly. Sudan announced on the 1st of December that its troops had dismantled an Ethiopian settlement and taken control of it after exchanging artillery fire with the neighboring country's forces in the disputed Al-Fashaga area. It also follows reports that 21 Sudanese soldiers had been killed and 30 others wounded in clashes with Ethiopian forces in Bekat Nuran in the disputed area 4 days earlier. The renewed clashes prompted Sudan's military ruler, Lieutenant General Abdel Fattah al-Burhan, to vow that his country will not cede an inch of territory to Ethiopia. To politics now. The Gambia's opposition United Democratic Party, UDP, has filed a petition at the country's Supreme Court to challenge President Adama Barrow's victory in the December 4th poll. UDP, whose leader Usainu Dabo came second in the election with 28% of the vote, accuses President Barrow's National People's Party, NPP, of voter bribery, manipulation of the voters' register, and other irregularities. The party earlier denied a report that it had challenged the poll result. Well, the petition has been joined by the Gambia Democratic Congress Party, which says it has gathered some evidence of alleged electoral fraud. President Barrow was re-elected with 53% of the vote in a poll described by observers as free and fair. Back here in Nigeria, the Lagos State Governor, Babajide Sanwo-Olu, has commissioned a new school and 744 housing scheme in Lekki area of the state. Governor Sanwo-Olu says this initiative is part of delivering on his theme's agenda for the residents. He adds that more infrastructure projects will continue to spring up across the state for the benefit of all Lagosians.
Governor Babajide Sanwo-Olu arrives at Elemoro Community Junior Secondary School in Ibeju, Lekki, local government area of Lagos State, to officially commit. The project has 18 classroom blocks comprising 12 standard classrooms, 6 special rooms including technology, science laboratory, library, ICT rooms, amongst others. It also has a 40 by 25 meters football pitch, a 6-lane sandwich athletics running track, and a spacious sitting arena. The state government says this will enhance effective teaching and learning, while the people are grateful for the gesture.
It is a fulfillment of my promise to provide Okeodo Elemoro Iwereko community with a secondary school. With the commissioning of this school, many children in this locality who now have access to a secondary education and a platform through which they can fulfill their dreams and ambitions for future without having to travel several kilometers to another community for a secondary school.
The technology that we'll be deploying into this school in terms of the Coexcel and the rest of it, and other ones that we have deployed in our work processes, will only enhance efficiency and productivity.
Then the governor moves to Songotedo Lagos Homes, also in Lekki Access, to commission phase 1 of the 744 housing units for residents of the state.
Songotedo phase 1 consists of 744 homes in 62 blocks in 12 homes each. There are 248 one-bed, 248 two-bed, and 248 three-beds apartments in this scheme.
The massive housing project was initiated to provide more decent homes for residents, and the state government promises to enact a tenancy scheme that will be favorable to all.
Beneficiaries that are current tenants that are living in houses, in flats, but who have challenged to pay a yearly rent. You'll be able to approach this scheme, and this scheme will be able to help you pay your 1-year rent for your landlord and ensure that you don't come cap in hand to borrow.
Songo Tedo Lagos Homes is located in Itiosa Local Government Council Development Area. The project, which is sited on a 10.024 hectares of land, contains 62 blocks of residences with beautiful landscape and a serene environment.
To our lighter stories now, through touch and sound, a visually impaired photographer is capturing images of Alexandria in Egypt. The 22-year-old university graduate has taken up a new challenge in photography, where she uses her hearing and touching senses to capture dazzling portraits.
I am here. Can you hear me? Is what visually impaired photographer Isra Ismail Yusuf's subjects calls out while she holds her camera and snaps pictures of Alexandrian daily life. The 22-year-old, who has a passion for photography, uses the lively Corniche in Egypt's second-largest city to take photos of commuters, lovers and business owners to teach herself the art.
I chose photography because I always wanted to study mass media, and I tried every way possible to enter. But I found out that in order for me to be allowed admission, I would have to find a way to pass the photography assignment. So I remained in college and took photography courses so that I could learn and develop myself. Until I found an initiative by photographer Khalid Farid. We spoke, and then I was surprised that instead of him teaching me how to take photographs with my mobile phone first, he directly taught me to use a camera.
The graduate of Arabic literature, Yusuf hopes her strolls across the city will give her enough experience to enroll in the School of Media to pursue a career as journalist.
It is, of course, very hard, but there isn't a profession that's easy. However, I love it and I love the experience. So when I'm in the field dealing with people, it gives me a know-how and helps me make connections. I feel that I'm doing something worthwhile, something I love.
Born visually impaired, Yusuf approaches her subjects, then uses her hands to fill out their dimensions and location and asks them to speak up to her when she backs away to snap her photo. Egypt has approximately 1 million people blind and 3 million visually impaired. Nearly 60% of the visually impaired in the country have cataract, which requires a simple surgical operation to correct.
Well, South Sudanese artist Abdul Oyal Deng is making a name for herself, painting women and illustrating other themes through her artwork. Abdul, who is also a curator, wants to promote upcoming artists, especially women painters from across the region.
Abdul Oyal Deng Ajak is an artist, a painter, and a curator based in Juba, South Sudan. Abdul says she always dreamed of becoming an artist as a child, so she started painting at a young age. Today, Abdul has transformed into a well-known artist in the country, illustrating different themes in her work.
My father encouraged me to do something more general, like a business. So I ended up doing international business. But also on the other hand, he's the same person who is always encouraging me to paint. And he's like, this is a talent, but then do what also have a cause. So I think what really, the person that encouraged me a lot was him. Like every time he traveled, he came with brushes and paints and things like that. And I appreciate that.
Abdul was born in Ethiopia in 1986, but when war erupted there, she was separated from her mother and came to Malakal in South Sudan with her paternal grandmother, who was a big influence on her. Women, therefore, are a constant theme in her body of work.
I was raised by women, especially growing up, of course, we know the old story of South Sudan. All the men were in the battlefield. And so at the time, my father was never with us, you know. It's a subconscious thing, and I've been raised by very strong women.
Abdul attended university in London, where she explored her skills further. The artist says she will draw and paint in her room and give out her work as gifts to friends. Her first exhibition took place in Juba after South Sudan declared independence in 2011. She not only wants to showcase her work, but also mentor upcoming artists, especially women painters from across the region. Abul wears many hats. She also works as Director of Museums, Culture and National Heritage in the Office of the Vice President, Gender and Youth Cluster.
My work in the office is practically the same thing that I'm doing here. It's only that it's not on canvas, but, you know, culture, collecting artifacts, you know, history, things like that. So a lot of time I'm doing the same thing that I can be doing anywhere.
Full and equal representation of women in politics and decision-making is an issue close to her heart. For Abul, artists are the true reflection of various periods of our times and says art, therefore, needs more recognition in Africa.
And that's it on the program for today. Thank you so much for watching. I'm Layo Adegoke.